Chapter 11. Blake was at his sister's house discussing the phone call with his mother. Alexis had filled him in on all the rumors about the Marshalls and his father, but she had no idea what the truth of the matter was. As he prepared to leave, one of his nephews ran down the stairs and jumped in front of him. "Uncle Blake, will you come out and feed the chickens with us?" Blake looked at Patrick. His eyes were bright and he was smiling ear to ear. Blake considered his options. He could spoil this kid's fun by telling him he absolutely hated all things ranching, or he could make his nephew happy and agree to head out and feed the chickens. "All right, let's go," Blake said. He prepared himself for the smell of the animals, the clucking of the chickens, and the entire scene that he had been so happy to be away from for the past 12 years. "Hey, you guys don't need to head out there. I already fed them," Alexis said, winking at Blake. His shoulders relaxed. The last thing he wanted to do was feed chickens. Blake shrugged his shoulders at Patrick and gave the boy a smile. "We'll do it tomorrow," Patrick said before taking off running toward his bedroom. "See how I saved you there?" Alexis said. "Thanks, sis." "So the Sibs seem okay, but Maribel alluded to the fact that there have been some problems." Alexis nodded. "Well, it all started when Luke stole the Marshall's car. But first, let me tell you about what's going on with all of them. Elsa has taken on the role of caretaker, so she seems much older than she really is. The twins are on the basketball team, and Lane is more mature than Luke. The twins have each other, and Elsa is a girl, so she's always kind of been in her own little world. Several months ago, Luke stole Dad's truck and went for a joyride. He didn't have an accident or anything like that, but I caught him coming back home. Dad was angry, of course, and he grounded him. A few months after that, Luke stole a car from a family, the Marshalls. They were new in town, so it made a really bad impression. Mom was livid, but Dad told her he'd take care of things. She was stressed, so she let him handle it. I guess Maribel told you the rest?" "No, she told me it would be better to hear it from you." "Well, something happened, and Mom went over to the Marshalls while Dad was there. Whatever she saw caused her to pack a bag and leave." "Wow, I wonder what happened." "No idea, but it all started when Luke stole that car." "What was Dad doing over the Marshall's place?" "He made Luke go over after school and do chores for them as restitution for stealing the car." "Sounds like a good start." "It was, but it meant that Dad was spending a lot of time at the Marshalls. He'd wait for Luke to get settled into a job and then leave. But before he took off, he'd spend time talking with Mrs. Marshall. The two struck up a friendship, and Dad started staying there while Luke worked. That's when the rumors started." Blake arched his eyebrows. "You think Dad had an affair?" "I don't know. Dad is not like that, but he was spending a lot of time there. Maybe you can ask him about it." "He's a man of few words, and I don't know if I'm the best one to approach the topic with him." "You're his oldest son. Who better than you to ask about this?" Alexis asked. "The other day, I was telling the kids about my life, and Dad walked in when I was explaining how I don't like ranching. He wasn't happy." "You didn't have to tell them that." "I was just being honest. Blake, you have been gone for years. The Sibs don't know what life is outside of here. Dad knows there's a chance they too will live friendly and the ranch will die. You know that would break his heart. And as the oldest son, I'm supposed to take over the ranch, but that's not my calling." "Neither was going to war, was it?" Blake felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. It always hurt when someone questioned his decision to join the army. His battleground wounds ached more deeply when someone flippantly brought up his service. "You ever been to war?" Alexis shook her head, looking embarrassed. "Then do me a favor and don't talk about it like you have been there." "Blake, I didn't mean to hurt you." "Listen, we need to get Mom home. Let's just focus on that, okay?" Alexis held out her hands and opened her mouth to protest. Blake stopped her before she said anything. "A simple yes or no will do." "Yes." "All right, case closed. Operation Get Mom Home is on." That night, Blake helped Elsa with her homework and read over Lane and Luke's essays for English class. Around 9 that night, his father shuffled into the kitchen and said, "You're trying to take her place." "Mom's place?" "Yeah." "No, Dad, there's no way I could take her place." "But what is happening with you and Mom?" His father sat at the kitchen table. "Son, sometimes things happen and you can't take it back." His father was a man of few words. He withdrew during harvest time and took off for a bar in the next town. But for the most part, his father was a good, strong man. His mother spent her days working hard, taking care of children, cleaning the house, and cooking for the family. Meanwhile, his father was out in the fields until late in the evening. Had they lost their love for one another? I called Mom. She has some different plans. I need to know what's going on with you two. Blake, there are times when marriage gets hard. Your mother wants things I can't give her. Like what? She wants a man who will take her shopping, spend a bunch of money, and have some fancy dinners out. I've never been that kind of guy, but your mother has changed. I don't know what to do. I've asked her to come back. Tell me what caused her to leave. There were rumors going around town, but no evidence of anything. What was the rumor? His father shook his head. Not sure. This is what she won't tell me. She says I should know what she's talking about. Blake felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He didn't want to ask the question he feared the answer to, but he had no choice. Dad, is there another woman in your life? Blake, life can get very complicated. The less you know about the inner workings of what's between your mother and I, the better. Is this about Mrs. Marshall? His father looked shocked. How do you know about her? Small world, Dad. It's not what you think, but I'm still not proud of what happened. Blake stood up. Dad, did you break your wedding vows? His father fell silent. Blake felt his throat tighten as he waited for an answer. No, son. I am sorry if that's the rumor going around. I love your mom. Always have, always will. Don't know what she feels about me. Mom is dedicated to you, I'm sure of that. Then why isn't she here? Blake saw tears in the corner of his father's eyes. Why wasn't his mother home? Clearly his father had made some mistakes, but taking an extended vacation didn't sound like a good plan. Dad, it's going to be okay. Mom will be home soon, and whatever has happened will be worked out. I don't know. Tell me what happened. Please, Dad. I won't judge you, and I'll do my best to get Mom home. Okay. Well, I was going over to the Marshall's house to drop off your brother to do work on their property. Luke is eager, but he's not as handy as you. So I would stay with him and make sure he was doing things right. I got to talking with Mrs. Marshall. We kind of became friends. There was a moment. Nothing happened, but your mother saw it. What type of moment? His father shook his head. Mr. Marshall isn't handy either, so Mrs. Marshall asked me to take a look at the ceiling fan in their bedroom. Your mother had come to the house, unbeknownst to me, because the tractor had broken down. She was doing the fields for me. Wanted to make sure everything was done before nightfall because I was heading down to the valley to sell the alfalfa in the morning. She walked up when Mrs. Marshall was talking to me. She was real close. Think your mother thought we were going to kiss one another. Blake felt anger rising in his throat. He took a deep breath, remembering that he had promised not to judge his dad. Was Mom right? Were you about to kiss Mrs. Marshall? A painful silence filled the room. She's a beautiful woman, and me and your mother have grown apart. I'll admit to a moment of temptation. Mrs. Marshall was letting me know that it would be okay if I kissed her. I told her no, but your mom already had played judge and jury and found me guilty. So nothing happened? No, but it got blown out of proportion and people around town started talking. Now your mother is talking about leaving friendly. She says I can come if I'm willing to move to some gosh darn big city. I ain't doing that. That's not part of the plan. For better or worse, right? Yeah, but there was never no talk about living in a big city. I'm a rancher. Even if you don't think anything of it, it's my life. What's more important, Mom or the ranch? I thought you weren't going to judge me. I'm not, but if you love Mom, find out where she is, go to her and tell her that she's the most important thing in your life. I don't have time to... I'll take care of everything here. You hate the ranch, but I love my parents.